It's March 1st, and Jalen Ramsey is still a Ram. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the March 1st, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's 661-206-6990. And check out Kistler Law Firm. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. Hey, it's late. I usually do this in the morning, but one thing we do not do, we do not miss a deadline. We are a deadline Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if I get this thing on at 11:59 in the PM, then I've met my deadline. And tell your mom to miss a deadline, but we can't miss a deadline. So I'm really happy to be here talking Ram football. This is the golden time. This is the time where you got to put in a little more work, a little more effort to get the information in. The season writes itself, right? You watch the game, you talk about the game, you talk about the injuries, and you talk about the next opponent. It writes itself. But the true diehard Ram fans are the ones who are totally all in this time of year. Now that we're, 2 weeks away from the official start of the 2023 season, and we're dealing with roster issues and cap issues and everything. And the good news is, as of March 1st, 7:41 Pacific Standard Time in 2023, Jalen Ramsey is still a Ram. So let's clear a few things up that I've heard and read these last day and a half, this last 2 days, in terms of Jalen Ramsey, the Rams, and everything else. Okay, we got to trade Jalen Ramsey because we got to get under the cap. Okay, I get that, right? The trading of Jalen Ramsey saves the Rams $5 million against the cap. You couple that $5 million with the $5 million they're going to gain because of Bobby Wagner's release, and drum roll, please. That's $10 million of relief against the cap, which is great, but it still leaves them 3.6, close to 4 rocks down. Even getting rid of Jalen Ramsey does not move the needle in the sense that all of our cap issues go away. I'd much rather put Tyler Higbee, Jordan Fuller, and some other folks in the street before I put Jalen Ramsey on another team, especially in the NFC. The second thing we need to clear up. Ramsey's departure creates an absolute void in the secondary. What kind of void? Well, an empty kind of a void, right? It is a complete void. Who is the leader back there? You want to re-sign Taylor Rapp? Do you really think we should re-sign Nick Scott? Robert Rochelle? They didn't even let him play this last year. Darian Kendrick, Kobe Durant. You're not going to bring back, anybody else, right? You're going to bring back David Long. You're going to bring him back. Ty Hill. Who are you going to bring back? Troy Hill. You're going to bring Troy Hill back? No, there's not even a good option. Maybe if Darius Williams was around, you'd think maybe, kind of. Even he wasn't that great in 2021 and was okay last year in, Jacksonville. But Ramsey's departure would create an absolute void, and it just can't be fixed. The other thing I keep hearing everywhere is the Rams don't have draft picks. The Rams don't have draft picks. They don't have draft picks. It is such a low-hanging fruit, sports bar position to take when you say the Rams don't have draft picks. The Rams are going to have 10 draft picks this year. Top one is at 36. They usually don't even have a second rounder, but they've got a second rounder. It's their second round pick that they have in the last 3 years, right? Tutu Atwell in 2021. They didn't have one last year, but they got a second rounder this year. And everyone overlooks the fact that they're going to be getting compensatory picks when other players, Samson Ebukam a couple years ago, Ogbo Okoronkwo last year, Austin Corbett, when these guys leave, you get a compensatory pick. and the Rams have about 4 coming to them. So they're going to have 10 picks overall this year. Probably in about 2 weeks, that'll get finalized in the exact spots that they're in. There's good speculation now that they are where they are. And it's true. The Rams do not have a number 1 pick. Okay. But I heard this yesterday, and I've heard other NFL analysts as well. They share that once you get past the top 12 or the top 15 in any NFL draft, you're not getting a transformational talent, meaning that the players that are going to go between 15th overall to 50 overall, those players will be drafted by teams that are looking for preference and need, not because there's a player they flat out know will become a superstar and start and be a game changer. Now, you do find them. That does happen. You do find those guys, but there's no absolute guarantee. And then you have other things that happen in a draft as well. In every draft, there's always a trend. There's always a run on a position. I think I'm speaking to the choir here. You know this. There's a wide receiver that might be projected to go 15 to 20. I've seen USC's Jordan Addison go as high in mock drafts as 10. I've seen him go as late as 20. I've even seen him fall to the second round. But let's use someone like Jordan Addison. Let's put him right in the middle of the first round. He might be projected to go between 15 and 20, just for example. But there could be, at a certain point, there could be a run on tackles, on edge rushers, right, on cornerbacks. And that receiver, someone like Jordan Addison, could fall to the second round, maybe even to the middle of the second round. This is why, and I know it won't happen, I took some heat for it, and it's okay. You should take heat for your opinion sometimes, that I said if the Rams are going to trade Ramsey for draft picks or a first-round draft pick, and then still try to tell us the Rams they plan on contending this season, then that first-round draft pick better be in the top 10, because only a top 10 pick will be able to fill that massive void of his departure. And it better be a cornerback, because that's how desperate the Rams are going to be in the secondary if Ramsey goes. So you need somebody that is lights out baller if you want to convince Ram fans that the team is serious about contending this year. I've heard them say the Rams want to go heavy on offense. I think that's great. But think how bad that secondary is going to be without Jalen Ramsey, right? They have no trust in Robert Rochelle. Robert Rochelle's going the Terrell Burgess route, special teamer. They did not play him at all last year. Darian Kendrick is raw. Kobe Durant is a little less raw. And then there you go. That's it, right? So if you draft a corner unless it's Tariq Woolen, right? And there's an interesting thing here coming up I'll talk about. Unless you draw somebody who can start right away and make a difference, you better make sure when you trade Jalen Ramsey, you're getting something that allows you to replace him in the secondary at a significant way, because otherwise you're cooked. Because Jalen Ramsey, Bobby Wagner, Aaron Donald, they're not only required to play their positions well, but in this horrible scheme that is so jejune, that is so yesterday's news, this scheme that was great in 2020, got exposed a little bit in 2021, and was completely exposed last year. What they're doing is letting teams do everything they want between the 20s, and then guys like Aaron, Bobby, Jalen make a play for us. Well, Jalen Ramsey won't be around to make a play to bail the Rams out. So that pick that they get in the first round, if they do get a pick in the first round for Jalen Ramsey, better be something special, or they better get something very special back in return. So just to raise this question one more time, raise your hand if you think the Rams will be contenders in the NFC if they trade Ramsey. Anyone? How about you, that guy in Irvine that's always rolling his eyes at me down there in Irvine? Every show, you're rolling your eyes at me. Raise up your hand if you think the Rams will be contenders without Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, real quick here. Let's do the commercial. I'm Joe Terosian. I spent 21 years as a sports writer covering mostly football. I was one of the founding members of Mid-Valley Sports. My guys now are covering the NFL. I left, they cover the NFL. Isn't that great? And our big focus was sports, was football. And so I've covered high school football, pro football, college football, AFL football. That's not American Football League. That's Arena Football League, if you want to call that football. And I did that for 21 years. I also write books, and I do RamView, and I do all these things to supplement my income. I am a pastor of a small church in Burbank, Burbank Faith Nazarene. You can find us online here, right here at YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual. And that is me. That is what I do. And I got some cool people like Burns and Mitchell and Kistler and Brown and Barry and Yep, and some great followers out there that have given me Brett Shepard a lot of encouragement. And so Derek Ciapala, who does Rams Talk, a lot of them have given me some great encouragement. So that's what I do. All right, we're good. It is going on the 11-minute mark. What's happening around the town, around the NFL? Marcus Mariota got cut by the Falcons. I think Mariota was drafted, what year was it? 2015? Was it 2015 or 2016 he was drafted? 16, 17, 18, 19. I think so. I think when him and Jameis were coming out, maybe it's 2015. And there was like, who's going to go? Mariota or Jameis? Mariota or Jameis Winston? And isn't that funny? They were just such hot commodities less than a decade ago. And now these guys are in their late 20s and they are yesterday's news. Isn't it amazing how vicious the NFL can be? How quickly you can be exposed if there's a hole in your game. And this happens to everybody, right? Everybody that plays this game, they figure you out. And Mariota has become a little less effective every time he plays. Nice, maybe a guy that could fill in for a game or two. Did a great job at the Raiders for a couple of years as a backup. But the Falcons, without anybody else in town, expected to draft a quarterback, maybe. They put Mariota in the street and put his contract in the street. And right now they're going to dance with Desmond Ridder, depending on what they get. But I saw a link. I didn't click on it. It said, was Marcus Mariota a bust? You make the call on that. He's a good dude, but is he a bust? Maybe not an absolute bust. You know, when you think bust, you're thinking Ryan Leaf type of bust, right? You're thinking Demarcus Randall, Demarcus Russell. I forgot his name. I think it's Demarcus Russell, the quarterback for the Raiders. You're thinking that's where you're thinking absolute bust. Johnny Manziel, you're thinking absolute bust, right? So we'll check that one out down the road. You could have your own opinion on that. Austin Blythe, the former Rams center, retired. We talked about him, how after the 2020 season, the Rams didn't re-sign him. They rolled the dice, what everyone thought, and went with Brian Allen. And don't let anyone kid you. when going into 2021, Rams fans, people, anybody in the know was sick about the idea of Brian Allen being the center. The team believed in him, and they won a Super Bowl. Austin Blythe signed with the Chiefs for less money. They, of course, drafted Creed Humphrey, the greatest Ram who never was, right? I wonder what number Creed Humphrey wore with the Rams. What number did he wear? Can someone tell me? And he didn't hardly play at all because that was Humphrey's job in 2021. And then last year, he was in Seattle. He was Seattle's starting center, and he didn't have a great year. And now I think he's played 7 seasons in the NFL. He called it a career. So good for him. He's going to get his pension. Had some great stories to tell. Great career. That's awesome. Anybody, if someone told me, Joe, you could hold a clipboard for 7 years in the NFL, I'd hold a clipboard for 7 years in the NFL, and I'd fetch their coffee too. I would do that kind of stuff. Austin Blythe retired. Also, it came across just today was the Browns are expected to release John Johnson III, JJ, a very beloved figure for the Rams for his first 4 seasons. Of course, he didn't get the second contract. And after 2020, he signed with the Cleveland Browns and along with Troy Hill. Troy Hill was booted out of town after 1 year. And Johnson's expected to be released by the Browns. He's making over $10 million. That's just a lot of money for a safety, playing strong safety. And so the Browns are going to get out of the JJ business. And the question is, would the Rams be interested in him? It doesn't look like he's going to be released in March. It looks like, according to what I read on Spot Track, that's a great site for looking at contracts and how much is left and money and all that kind of stuff. According to Spot Track, if the Browns release John Johnson anytime soon, they save less than $1 million. They save less than $1 million against the cap. But if they release them after June 1st, they save 9.75, nearly $10 million against the cap. And that's likely, I have to guess, that's likely when he'll be released. I mean, you could say he could get traded, but I don't know if anyone's going to trade for John Johnson when you can find a safety, right? Safeties are easy to find. Good ones, a little harder to find, but they are easy to find. Johnson will be 28 by the time this next season begins. And I love John Johnson. Who doesn't like John Johnson, right? My only thing is I don't want to pay John Johnson anything at this point. I just don't. If he wants to come back and on a good guy deal, you want to pay him $1.5. I'm serious. I wouldn't want him back unless he comes at a cutthroat price. And that's where it gets really interesting in terms of someone like John Johnson coming back. And everyone loves a return engagement for former Rams. Brandon Cooks, bring him back. Bobby Trees, bring him back. Morgan Fox, bring him back. No, Morgan Fox went to cross the street, went across the locker rooms to the next locker room, played with the Chargers this year and had a decent season, and he's a free agent again. And then, of course, there's a couple of free agents, Baker Mayfield and Carson Wentz. And I talked about Carson Wentz on Monday. I'd love to find out which one of them wants to get better and to see if they are willing to spend a season working for the minimum in an attempt to resurrect their careers. Because I think Mayfield might have a better market than Carson Wentz, but Carson Wentz, man, that guy's in trouble. What a great gig would be for him to come, work for the minimum, and spend a year sitting on the bench. He's going to get a time to play, but either him or Baker Mayfield, I think that would be a great signing for the Rams if you get those guys, one of those guys, dirt cheap as a backup. If not, you can draft a quarterback. And that's the interesting thing when you think about where the quarterback situation thing is in the NFL. In the AFC, these are the list of teams that have quarterback issues right now. The Baltimore Ravens, the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, the Tennessee Titans, the Las Vegas Raiders, Indianapolis Colts, and Houston Texans. Now, it is pretty much, it's not a lock, but it's pretty much a lock right now in most mock drafts that Bryce Young is going to Houston. That can change. Most mock drafts have Indianapolis going after C.J. Stroud. Of course, it can all change, but just about every mock draft I'm seeing, that's pretty much how it falls. The latest mock draft I saw has Will Levis out of Kentucky going to Las Vegas. That was the one that was interesting. And then you're dealing with the other teams. Baltimore looks like they're going to lose Lamar Jackson, right? I mean, are they going to lose him? Are they going to pony up all of a sudden, decide they're going to fully guarantee $250 million? That's going to be interesting. If they don't, hello, Tyler Huntley, or maybe a maneuver in the draft. Miami, even though Tua had a good year, do they want to keep dancing with Tua with these other names floating around out there? And the Jets are going to be looking for a quarterback. I think Mike White might be a free agent, the backup quarterback who looks a lot better than their first-round pick from a couple years ago, Zach Wilson. And then the Tennessee Titans, they are going to stay with Ryan Tannehill. I probably should have pulled him off the list, but Tannehill's going to make $36 million this year. They release him. It's a huge dead cap hit, and it only saves them about $5 million. So I got to believe Ryan Tannehill's going to play out the last year of his contract. He doesn't look like somebody they're going to trade for. San Francisco, that word is leaking out all over that they are looking for some kind of quarterback help because you can't count on Brock Purdy and of course Trey Lance. That situation, they're going to be in the market for a quarterback. They have to be. Is Tampa Bay really going to go with Kyle Trask? We know they're not going with Blaine Gabbert, right? And then odds are it's likely that the Giants are going to re-sign Daniel Jones, but he wants 45, and that'll be interesting to see. The Seahawks are expected to re-sign Geno Smith. His market value is 2 at 78. That means 39 rocks a year, and kind of for a quarterback these days, that's a bargain. And I think everyone would view him as a bridge quarterback and maybe lock him up for 2 years and see where you go. But it'll be interesting if anyone else believes in Geno Smith beyond Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. And if he goes anywhere else, I'd be surprised. Washington, They're talking about Sam Howell. I got to believe they'd be looking at a quarterback, right? They have to be. Does Eric Bieniemy want to go to war with Sam Howell? Maybe. Carolina, is Sam Darnold the guy? They got Matt Corral and PJ Walker on that roster. New Orleans, Jameis Winston is still there, but Andy Dalton is the starter. And then the Cardinals have a health issue at quarterback, just like San Francisco, because Colt McCoy has some health issues as well as we know Kyler Murray, and so Trace McSorley. So I got to believe the Cardinals in some way are in the market for a quarterback. And then the latest mock draft that I saw, the one that had Young going to Houston, Stroud going to Indianapolis, and Will Levis going to Las Vegas, had Richardson from Florida going to the Falcons. And again, to me, that's a real reach. That's a real reach. And these are the quarterbacks that are going to be out there. Of course, the draftable quarterbacks in the first round, who, if they're drafted, if they're not starters week one, should be starting by midseason. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. And of course, you get deeper in the draft, you got Hendon Hooker, Tanner McKee, and some of these other names starting to surface, including the O'Connell guy from Purdue that we'll talk about in a minute. The free agents, Lamar Jackson is out there. There's talk about him in Miami. It'll be interesting to see if the Ravens don't meet 250 fully guaranteed. Is Miami or any other team willing to do that for Lamar Jackson? And I've talked about Lamar Jackson. I like him. I think he's competitive, but I think he's hit his wall. And every year he just breaks down. He's gone the Cam Newton route. Geno Smith is out there. No one knows what's happening with Aaron Rodgers. So that could change things. We talked about Daniel Jones likely to go back to New York. So that leaves Derek Carr out there. And they said he's met with the Jets and he's kind of doing the tour with the Saints. Some people projected him going to Carolina, but haven't heard that. But Derek Carr's in a great place, right? It'll be interesting to see. And then Jimmy G. Is there a market for Jimmy Garoppolo? Is there a market for him? Because he breaks down all the time. The 49ers are done with him. They're not going to do it anymore. So who's going to give him? And that's the sick part about when you think about the Raiders. Who would be stupid enough to give Jimmy G a contract after chasing Derek Carr out of town? Probably that guy named McDaniels in Las Vegas would do that. You're a Raider fan. You'd like to say it's the best of times and the worst of times, but for the Raiders, it's like it's always the worst of times, right? If you need a bridge guy, Jacoby Brissett would be available. I don't know if Cleveland's going to let him walk. I'm sure Arizona might give him some money to start the first half of the season to see what they have, at least until somebody else gets back on the field. Colt McCoy or Kyler Murray. Colt McCoy should be back, but not early in the season. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm hearing about Colt McCoy, but it's Colt McCoy. And unless he's playing against the Rams defense, he's still Colt McCoy. And then, of course, Baker Mayfield and Carson Wentz are out there. I don't think anybody's going to give a second look to Carson Wentz this year. I just think they're done with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz wants to stay in the NFL. Needs to be a backup for the Rams. Mayfield showed a little bit of what he's still capable of with the Rams the last part of this last season. And I could see somebody bringing him as a bridge. But Baker Mayfield shouldn't be wanting to go to a bad team, get exposed again. He should be wanting to, up his value by maybe showing he's a team player and serving as a backup with the Rams. So interesting stuff. Moving on. I found this today looking at the draft. I do a mock draft and I talk about mock drafts. I look at all the mock drafts, everyone I can find. And then you can, like I said, mock drafts are like elbows. Everybody has two. And so I was looking at it and I saw on Rams Wire, they had a mock draft. So I clicked on it. I don't click all the time, but I clicked this time. And they were using PFF's Pro Football Focus's mock draft simulator. Anyone could do it. Get on there. And I think it was Cameron DeSilva, their main guy. And he did a 7-round mock draft for the Rams. And I'm going to be honest, I absolutely loved it. I thought he did a great job in that draft. And I tip my hat to him if indeed I were wearing a hat. And so Rams had 10 picks. He traded 3 of them to move up in the draft, and we'll talk about that. But I loved his draft. And so with the number 36 pick Okay. And I love this because I took heat 3 weeks ago for saying the Rams should take Kincaid out of Utah at tight end. The Rams need a tight end. And Cam DeSilva at number 36 took Luke Musgrave, the tight end out of Oregon State, which would be phenomenal. What a great draft pick that would be. And I loved it that he took him. And then at number 69, he took a guy named Andre Carter II. He's an edge guy out of Army who is a beast. He just looks awesome. And but I kind of wrote him off because he has to serve his Army time. But I didn't realize, because I looked it up, that in the last omnibus bill, that's the bills they pass in Washington that allow them to spend money on everything from defense to, giving benefits to someone's third cousin twice removed who lives in Bulgaria, or the Ukraine, right? And but in that omnibus bill, they had sketched in there, one of those crooked omnibus bills. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting political. One of those crooked bills they worked in there that basically an athlete at one of the service academies could have their service deferred if they have pro prospects and prospects to play pro ball. And Andre Carter is one of them, and so that's why he's eligible for the draft. And they have him. The Rams taking him. DeSilva has the Rams taking him at number 69, which I love. Before the season started, he projected as a top 50 player, but he didn't have a huge sack numbers. He didn't have huge sack numbers in 2022 compared to 2021. And I'm sure because of the Army service, he was dropping in any kind of in the radar of all the teams, but he might be climbing in and he might be climbing up. So that'll be worth keeping an eye on. So Luke Musgrave, tight end, edge rusher Andre Carter at number 69 in the third round. I love those picks. And then he trades in the fourth round, the number 136 pick with the Bears. He sends to the Bears number 136, number 172, and number 103. And I'm sorry, another one, number 180, 70, something like that, whatever it is. He sends 3 picks to the Bears for the 103rd overall pick. So he moves up high in the third round. Or low in the third round, and he picks Julius Brents, Kansas State, who is 6'3", runs a 4.4. He's been compared to this year's Tariq Woolen, who was a 6th rounder or something, or 5th rounder with the Seahawks this year, and just it was outstanding. But Julius Brents, his how would you say it? His stock is climbing right now, and I hope he would still be there. But he traded Cam DeSilva, traded 3 picks to move up to 103 overall, and grab Julius Brents in the 4th round. I'm sorry, out of Kansas State, 6'3". Talk about a wingspan, and he runs a 4.4, and he's familiar with zone defenses, right? So he would fit the bill for the Rams. And there was even talk that he could play a little safety. And the truth is, with the way the passing game is going now in the NFL, these corners and safeties are going to have to almost be interchangeable to some degree. He's a boundary guy, which will help the Rams. So I thought that was a great move by Rams Wire's Cameron DeSilva in his mock draft. At number 182, he has the Rams taking Antonio Mafi, a guard out of UCLA. He's the 7th ranked guard on the big board for PFF. 6'4", 339. I'm always for drafting an offensive lineman. I think that's great. I love that pick. The only pick that I'm not so thrilled about was at number 189. DeSilva took quarterback Aiden Connell out of Purdue. I like Purdue quarterbacks. I'm just not thrilled with Aiden O'Connell. Average arm, average everything. Of course, played a pro passing game there with Jeff Brom and everything, but I'm not thrilled on him. I don't know. I don't think he's got the heart, Holmes. I'm not big on Aiden O'Connell. 211, safety, Trey Dean, Florida, 6'3", 207. He's a guy, 13th on the big board. Special teamer. He's just another guy that'll run on special teams, maybe get some snaps, maybe become a starter. Who knows? That's just who he is. Another safety body. Keep rotating the safeties in, right? Linebacker D Winters. Off-ball linebacker, TCU, 6'1", 230, feels like a special teamer, 15th on the big board. And I shouldn't dump on special teamers. they play a huge role. You can't keep running Christian Roseboom out there forever, right? And then at number 252, I thought this was an inspired pick. Travis Dye, USC running back. And I thought that was really good because Isaiah Pacheco proved this year that you can find a Super Bowl caliber running back in the 7th round, right? And I think he was 254. Travis Dye would be 252 overall in the 7th round out of USC. So really an excellent job. And I usually don't like the mock drafts I see because I share with them and I kind of go, whatever. But the one on RamsWire using the PFF mock draft simulator was really a good job, especially using the system to kind of move up for Julius Brents, who is going to be climbing probably in the charts. Look for him and Andre Carter to kind of move up on the boards going forward. And I've seen the tight ends move back and forth. The kid from Notre Dame, Kincaid at Utah, Musgrave at Oregon State. These are the top 3 tight ends in the draft, let alone, Laporta, the guy at Iowa. There's some talent there at tight end, and I love to see the Rams take a tight end at number 36. And I'd love to see them hang on to Jalen Ramsey as well. Okay, hey, I want to thank my sponsors. I want to thank Kistler Law, and you can find them at KistlerLawFirm.com. Check them out. I want to thank Temple City Auto and John and Henry over there. And hey, this is being posted on one of the Temple City pages tonight. Thank you for allowing me to post on Temple City group here on that's on Facebook. And if you have any desire to advertise the local business, that's me. All right. I'm going to let you go. You'll find us on all the platforms. Please hit like, share. Hit the notification button. Drive our presence up here on YouTube. Also, one of the things we're making a little adjustment. We haven't posted the last 2 shows on Spotify because I'm trying to make an adjustment there. We need help on Spotify. I had everyone say, Joe, get on Spotify. Get on Spotify. I got on Spotify and butkus, man. Nobody's clicking on Spotify. I know they're watching us here because our numbers have gone up. But if you're on Spotify, you need to listen to us. Hey, I think I'm one of the few Rams podcasts and casts that are going 3 times a week right now. So, cut me some slack, Jack. Okay, we're out of here. We will see you soon. Go Rams, and I'll talk to you Friday.